What's up, fam, and welcome to the Marte Show here with a new video. In reference to my last video about Kevin Durant and the Celtics, looks like that is not happening with the recent news about Kevin Durant and the Nets making up and whatnot. But I still think there's a possibility where Kevin Durant does get traded. And if that opportunity does present itself, I believe the Celtics will be back in that discussion. Now, I think that's going to happen maybe towards the trade deadline during the year, or maybe we'll be surprised with the trade throughout the offseason. But it looks like the Boston offer was the best on the table based off of news from Shams, saying that that was the best offer on the table for the Nets. Everybody else didn't have a good offer, and the Nets weren't happy with the offers that were out there. And this looks like it's going to go into the season, obviously, to showcase Kevin Durant's skill because he did end off the season pretty bad with the way he got defeated by the Celtics. And then you still have the Kyrie news out there that he may be ending up with the Lakers still. We'll see what happens. Nothing is guaranteed, but the Kyrie Irving to the Lakers momentum is still in play. Um, and the Lakers are seriously still interested in Kyrie Irving. They just recently signed, not signed, but traded for Pat Bev, letting go of THT and Stanley Johnson. I think that was a good pickup as far as culture goes. And it looks more likely that Russell Westbrook will be out. So, who is going to replace Russell Westbrook? I don't think it's Pat Bev. We'll see who it's going to be. I've been hearing that Russell Westbrook may be going to the Indiana Pacers for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. I don't know how that works for the Pacers. I mean, letting go of those type of players for where Russell Westbrook is at in his career. I don't think that works. But Kyrie is still in the mix for the Lakers. So how does that work for the Nets? I still feel that a trade is going to happen before the trade deadline. So that's anywhere from now until the trade deadline, guys. I for sure feel that way for the Nets. We'll see how the Nets look too throughout this season. I mean, and if you do keep this team together and trying to make a playoff push, I mean, how are these players going to react if they go through a skid? I don't think it's going to be taken lightly. So it's all interesting this offseason. Kevin Durant definitely held up a lot of negotiations for these players. Everybody waited for that domino to fall, and it did not fall. And then this whole drama. I don't know how Jaylen Brown is feeling, but I think the Celtics, I mean, they obviously care about how he feels, but in the Celtics management mind, Brad Stevens' mind, you have a 2-year contract with Jaylen Brown, and the guy, I don't think, is going to want to sign after those 2 years with all the drama that has happened in Boston and his name being linked in trades. But then also in reports, when this whole drama was unfolding, it was reported that Jaylen Brown said that he's still loyal to the Boston Celtics. But the Nets questioned that. If they were to get a player like Jaylen Brown in exchange for Kevin Durant on a 4-year contract, how much control do they have over Jaylen Brown and his future? It looks like the Celtics don't really have the control because the contract that they signed Jaylen Brown to doesn't allow him to get the max that he wants and deserves. Jaylen Brown is one of the best two-way players in the league. And if you look at his improvement from his rookie year until now, you can tell this guy's a hard worker and he's dedicated to his craft. So there isn't much question about that. It's just about the control that Jaylen Brown has for his contract negotiations going forth. So the Celtics, I believe, are still in a good position. I don't think this messes up the chemistry too much because as a player who is not on a max extension like Jason Tatum, you have to prove yourself to that next contract. So I don't think that really does any damage to the Boston Celtics. I believe the Celtics have one goal in mind, and that's to win the 2022 2023 NBA championship. And that's my pick to win it all based off the rosters that we see today. There's more to happen. The Utah Jazz still have yet to trade Donovan Mitchell. It looks like they're New York Knicks to get the offer that they want. It's funny because when the report came out that the Jazz, specifically Danny Ainge, was not pleased with the offer from the Knicks, obviously sources came out and started saying that there's other teams that are interested in Donovan Mitchell, one of the names being the Cavaliers. Now imagine Donovan Mitchell on the Cavaliers with the Evan Mobley, Darius Garland. That will do some damage. You think about the players that the Cavs can let go. They have some formidable players. I mean, you have Lauri Markkanen. You still have Karis LeVert. You still have Colin Sexton. You have Isaac Okoro. I believe they drafted a new guy by the name of Oche Agbaji. And they drafted Evan Mobley's brother, Isaiah Mobley. So it's very interesting to see the assets the Cavs have. I think a player like Donovan Mitchell will be very useful for them. And they have a better package than the New York Knicks. If I were Danny Ainge, I would want that kid Quentin Grimes, a good amount of draft picks, and I mean whoever else you want to go ahead and put in there to fill in the void, the talent void that there will be in Utah, then so be it. But if you can go ahead and get your hands on Quentin Grimes, who I think is going to be a nice sharpshooter in the future for many years to come, I don't think RJ Barrett should be given up on. The Knicks still believe in RJ Barrett. I don't think he's a player you should be letting go. He has a bright future ahead of him. It's a top 5 pick. So you have to have patience there. But we'll see what happens this offseason, guys. I still believe Kevin Durant will somehow end up in a Boston Celtics uniform. But other than that, guys, if you guys did like this video, please click a thumbs up. If you want to know when my videos drop, please subscribe. And yeah, you guys have a great Friday. Peace.